guys, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really good. Sorry about the slight delays. We're just getting this streaming live to YouTube finally. So we're just kind of nutting out some kinks. But we're
Yo,
all
yo,
good.
yo, GM.
Everyone's here. Everyone's good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's GM for you. It's GN for me.
Yeah, man. 8 o'clock in the morning.
7 a.m.
Uh,
here.
11 p.m. here.
11 p.m. All right. So we're just gonna a couple of other people to wait for. So we'll just chat the shit until oh, here we go. Beluga's in the crowd, and then we can get cracking. How is everybody?
Yeah, good, man. Up nice and early at 5, I think, to get in on the Astro Kid MATIC mint.
Did you get yourself an Astro Kid?
Yeah, I got 4,
Fuck yeah,
which was good.
stuff.
A weird experience on MATIC though. It's pretty slow network.
Yeah, it is a bit laggy.
Yeah, it's super slow.
But yeah,
We're on the
it was
MATIC as
good.
well, so a lot of people have issues on that. Have to wait a couple of minutes for the transaction to go through.
Yeah, and like especially being used to FTM.
No, I bet,
Uh,
man. Yeah,
Crazy.
but it works. So at least
Yeah.
we have that.
No, I mean, my transactions went through first time. Can't complain. Didn't cop any rares though. Which, third mint in a row, no rares.
Kimblood, does Big Nil collect? Do they want to come up as well?
Yeah, I can see him in the. Yeah, I can see him in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
And Mimel as well. That's cool. Yeah.
All right. We creatures, we've just invited you to speak. You're our first guest to talk, so just step on up when you're ready to go, and then we can get things kicked off. Hey Beluga, how you doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Perfect.
My love must be a kind
Thanks.
of
Glad to be here.
We creatures, we're just waiting for you, and then we can get everything started.
Hey guys, thanks for the invite up. I don't have all that much time, about 30 minutes, but I wanted to hang out and make sure I said hi.
Perfect. No worries, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, excited to have, man. It's really exciting.
So while we wait for we creatures, I think we'll just kind of get into it. All right, guys. So this is Final Export. This is a weekly AMA that we hold here.
My love must be a kind of blind love.
Into the space, the NFT space and whatnot, their projects and their talents. So thanks for being here.
No, thanks for having us.
Fucking A. So we've got 4 artists today. I'll just run through real quickly kind of who we've got. We've got We Creatures from the Fantom network. They're minting on. They've just started minting, I think. We have Beluga Bay from the MATIC network. From the project Beluga Bay. REPEATR from the Fantom network with his project Ego Death and his one of ones. And Daturians from the MATIC network, who have just started minting on the same day as us, which is pretty awesome. We're on the journey together. So thanks everyone for being here. Thanks everyone for being in the audience and tuning in. Without further ado, I would like to get into it in the order which we had it. But We Creatures is still down in the audience there. We'll just move on straight to Beluga Bay. Beluga Bay, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm great. I've never been better.
So good. So Beluga Bay uses sketchbooks, Procreate, Illustrator, and Photoshop acrylic paint and digital tablets. He likes to call his art kind of technological folk art with a video game influence. So Beluga Bay is obviously a project. I'd like to know when you guys kind of minted and how long it's been around. But they've also got Baby Belugas, which is a project, I guess, that you're working on at the current point. Beluga, I'm going to put some links in the chat. Everyone hang out in the chat room. Tell us a bit about your journey as an artist. Tell us a bit about where you began. I'd like to know about these sketchbooks and these the early beginnings of your craft. Tell us where you begin and then how that eventually met and took you to your introduction to the NFT space.
Well, traditionally, I think the sound audio is like echoing in my. I don't know what's going on. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can. The music is like. Hold on.
We'll turn the music off.
Okay, I think that's a little better. Oh.
Lost our host.
Are we good, or is that better? Oh, we just got rid of the music, so.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it was echoing through something. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, but when I started Beluga Bay about, I don't know, early 2021, and this came from me being a toy designer first and foremost. I've been a toy designer for about close to 20 years, I would say. And the way that came about is me wanting to be an indie game developer for my entire life. So right out of college, I started just filling sketchbooks full of little tiny cute creatures that I would scan into Illustrator and flesh out. And I was kind of doing NFTs before the whole NFT. I mean, like years and years before the NFT thing came along. And my goal was to create basically a roster of creatures that I could fill up universes with. And in doing so, I started to partner up with toy companies. And then in 2015, I released a toy company called Spritelings, which kind of took all of the things that I had been doing in the previous 15 years and turned them into 3D art in the form of vinyl toys and plushies. So I did that for about 5 years. About year 5, I ended up starting really talking to game devs that were interested in bringing Spritelings into the NFT sphere as a play to earn game. And then I really did some analysis on that and determined that I needed to create a brand that would help get Spritelings some groundswell, and that's where Beluga Bay came in. It just was an idea I had, and it grew legs. So like in 2021, that was the creation of what is now the Beluga Bay Empire.
That's a crazy journey. It's really interesting to hear that you kind of have been going down the path of small, interesting little characters for so much longer than the NFT space. So is there a I just kind of want to talk about these toys. What was the process in bringing these to life? Like, are you working in conjunction with someone here, or are you using your hands and actually building these things yourselves? Like, what's the process here?
At first, the thing that kind of hit me is I always had like these kind of cute Yeti like creatures that I would draw, and I would draw them everywhere to the point that I was doing graffiti on the street with them and slapping stickers with them. And in my town, we had this one character that got pretty famous for being somebody that we would like slap stickers of him, and he kind of ended up having this street art life of his own. So I did those characters for so long that I walked into a toy store one day and there was an indie toy that looked very similar to what I had been drawing for 10 years. So I went home and I said, I've got, this is it. I've got to make toys. And I went into my closet and looking back at what I did, it's kind of embarrassing, but I had just lost a lot of weight and I took all of my clothes and I cut them up and I made these like Humpty Dumpty, like janky creatures out of my clothes. Of course, I washed them and bleached them before I did this, but looking back, it's kind of embarrassing. And I made these creatures. I never had touched a sewing machine a day in my life. And so I made these creatures and I took them to a local Comic Con and they sold out like instantly, even though people could tell they were closed at one point. So, and so I said, oh my goodness, like I'm on to something. My designs are actually working. And so we sold out and people were trying to buy the tablecloth off of the table. That's how well they did. So I just came back and I started really getting into that process of building, and that's where it kind of took off.
That's insane, man. I love the idea that you entered some manic kind of wardrobe pulling and smashed together your own toys. That's absolutely insane. That's so cool. So my next question, obviously, would be, tell us a bit about the process of going back to, I guess, the concept stages of all your little characters and birthing and bringing to life these Beluga characters. Can you talk about kind of that process?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think what's interesting about the NFT space is it kind of goes back to what I already dealt with in the toy industry, and you just don't know how well a certain character is going to do, no matter how much marketing you do until you go live. So the interesting thing about NFTs is you can do a lot of marketing, and then when it comes to mint day, you don't know how well it's going to do. I mean, you really don't. You could have like 10,000 people following you, and then only 500 mint out. So what I ended up having to do in the toy sketches is really doing kind of A/B testing with my designs and say, okay, I'm going to post this one. This one got 500 likes and this one got 20 likes. So what was the difference? And then things that I learned were that people really don't like certain colors and certain color combinations. So it took quite a lot of like testing to determine which of the creature, because in similar to the NFT space, toy creation has limitations. So you can only really once you get into the factory mold, you can only make 500. You can't make 300. You have to kind of commit to 500. So it's very similar mindset to projects that have to determine which of their traits they're going to add and what designs will go forward in the NFT project. So that I'm lucky in that way. I got to experience that first in toys before I got into NFTs.
That's really interesting. So, you're saying that in the creation of the Beluga Bay character, that we're talking about the digital Procreate NFT or Illustrator, I guess, is where you'd finalize everything. But you were actually collaborating with the community on a very early stage, in terms of colors and color combos and aesthetic or artistic decisions. You were collaborating with. Is that correct?
Somewhat, I think. What I do is I do all the sketching and a lot of the sketching, and then I send my designs to someone that is much better at inking and has more time to ink than I do, and then they send me back proofs, and I say, yeah, let's go with that, and then I do all the colors. I pretty much, because of the toy industry, stick to Pantone colors, and so I already feel like they're established in the print world. So I will kind of hue shift from Pantone. Season 1 was mostly me grabbing my favorites from Pantone, and then Belugas were me creating my own color palette, borrowed from Burnt Toast Creative. So yeah, I I think I don't know if I answered that question. I kind of got off track.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. That's perfect. I guess I got one more kind of question. I guess it intrigued me so much that the big introduction to this project was your endeavor down the physicals aspect and putting these toys and these plush toys together. Seeing as the Beluga Bay, as you kind of pre-mentioned, was kind of to help that venture. Are you going to go back to the physicals and the plush toys and the things that kind of sent you down this road, or are you going to fuse the physicals with the Beluga Bay community and kind of like get back to your toy making? Because it sounds to me like that's your art. Your art form is toy making.
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm a world builder. My favorite thing in the world to do is build huge universes. So I have partnered up with a big company to this is the funny thing is I have a whole warehouse of toys that once I got so deep into the NFT world, I stopped distribution. So I have a whole warehouse of like cute toys waiting for me to get my act together to get them with QR codes that relate them to their NFT counterparts. So after Beluga Bay's roadmap gets stable enough, I will be bringing like the 3D toys, the plush and the vinyl to the NFT world. I'm hoping to be the first NFT toy company to do this. I know people are getting there, but I don't think they have what I already have, which is a brick and mortar like complete logistics set up and ready to go with a warehouse full of toys. But the thing that that I really want this not to be a rug pull. So every single piece of bringing these toys to the Web3 world is being analyzed and using what I'm building with the community inside of Beluga Bay, which is basically 1,000 Polygon related projects. It's really doing that. What I'm really trying to do is not build a rug pull related to the toys. But yes, the answer to the question is Belugas will have a toy form at some point, and that will open up the world of the Spritelings NFT, which is its own play to earn game that has already been accepted by a big, how do you say it, a venture capitalist um, angel thing that's ready. That's ready to go. It's gonna be me getting it to where I feel comfortable pushing forward.
And just to kind of touch it off, when would maybe the Spritelings, if they're not already kind of live, when might that project kind of be available to people?
I if everything if everything works well, you'll start seeing Spritling NFTs in April or May, and possibly April or May. I would say you would start seeing Spritlings universe open up.
It's really exciting, man. It's awesome to hear that you're on route back to the OG kind of world that brought you here. So that's
Thank you so much.
so awesome, dude. Thanks so much for your time, Beluga. We're going to move on to our next guest.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We creatures, yes. We're
I'm so sorry about that.
no, that's okay. That's totally fine. Relax. It's all good. You're here now. So
Yes.
I'm just going to give you a little bit of a cool little intro, and then I'll let you take the floor. How's that sound?
Thank you so much. Yes, that's great.
No worries. So everybody, this is We Creatures. We Creatures is a project based on the Fantom network. This is the artist. She uses Procreate and Final Cut Pro. I'm very interested to hear more about your video editing. But before it gets to the computer and the digital, she uses graphite, acrylic, oil paints, and photography, clay, and collage. I've got ... a lot, and I agree. That's insane. So it's pretty rad that you've obviously come from a very traditional background, found your way to the digital art realm. She describes her genre as original cute characters, the ones that make you smile genre. She's minting on Fantom. The project's minting on Fantom, ETH, and Tezos. It's currently live. The 23rd of the 2nd is when they're launched. And there's more projects that kind of connect to this larger kind of universe. But we'll get We Creatures to talk about that herself. Please, We Creatures, tell us about this background in graphite, acrylic, oils, and all these other mediums, and tell us how that long journey brought you to the Fantom space and into this release that we're a part of at the moment.
Yes, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having us. I'm sorry about that early mix up. I'm very nervous. Never done anything like this before, so please bear with me and forgive me if I'm not so great with this, but but I basically have been making art since I could hold a pencil or a paintbrush for that matter. And just always been making things. As I grew up, I started getting into making illustrations for children's books for people and doing murals for people. And so naturally, when I went into college, I studied art and did some art shows with that and started incorporating more and more digital aspects into all the art that I was doing. Like I dabbled into all different kinds of things because I celebrate all kinds of art. You know, I did some sculpture, I did some ceramics, I did some painting, drawing, collage, like you said. But I found myself gravitating more towards painting and incorporating digital kind of sketches before I began the painting. And then from there, I just started incorporating digital more and more into my work. And then when I heard about NFTs, like by that time I had completely started doing completely 100% digital work. So it just was naturally something that I was interested in.
Yeah, right. Okay. So this is it felt like a natural progression for you, and it's like it's almost been become a part of your journey for quite a long time. So tell us how it's arrived at We Creatures and where this is all kind of construed, where it's come from.
Sure. I actually several years ago had the name We Creatures because I was selling some miniature sculptures that I was making and also some artwork that I would make on t-shirts and shoes. And I wanted to come up with a name that would go with that. And I'm creating. I feel like we are all creatures. We all love creating. We've all been created. So We Creatures was like the natural name that I came up with. But as I continued making art, and had a daughter, you know, things became more like making little creatures and things like that were cute, that would make her giggle or smile. And that naturally became what led to We Creatures without me even knowing it, because my daughter had been working on making a little game within Scratch, which is a MIT website for kids to code little games and things. And she had asked me to make her a little character, a little creature for her game. And I drew this cute little creature that I thought would make her giggle or make her, you know, pleased with my result. And so I gave that to her and she really liked it. And so that was the whole point of me making the very first creature that ever existed. And then fast forward several months later and we hear that NFTs are a thing. and we start looking through my digital sketchbook with the things that I've already done to see like what kind of thing or what kind of area do I want to go in? Like what kind of project, what can I base my project on? And we came across this little creature that I had made for my daughter, and we started like laughing, thinking about like, oh yeah, we could do this with it and we could do that with it, and just like brainstorming and just laughing about it. And it was like something that brought so much joy, even just thinking about that. It just was like, yeah, this is definitely going to be where we're going to head, the direction we're going to head with this project.
That's epic. I love how naturally it all kind of came together, and you didn't really think too much about it. I have a lot of respect for projects that are kind of just like, I'm not trying to change the world. They're just like, oh, I'm just trying to do something cute and fun. So can you talk about the generative process? I'm assuming this is the first generative project that you've put together and you've done. I'm going to post a video here in the chat of you throwing the dice into the cardboard box. Can you talk about how many attributes there are, what the process was, and how you tackled arranging attributes and preparing for the generative part, and then talk a little bit about the actual generation of these images.
Yeah, I definitely can talk about that. At the time we were talking about like how we could create more work a little bit faster, and there was a lot of like AI generated pieces happening, but the way that I want a little bit more control over it. I didn't want any layer fails. I didn't want to have to like be disappointed by the result that the computer came up with or whatever, so I wanted to have more of a hands-on approach to it. So I went with the DIY way, and we kind of just got a bunch of different color 20-sided die. And me and my family literally rolled 777 times. And we had fun with it. Like when we would have like our family over for dinner, we'd be like, hey, grandma, come and roll this and see what you come up with. And, I'd make them real quick and they could see what they rolled. And it was really fun. And we just enjoyed that process a lot. And so we physically made each dice, each color represented a different characteristic. Let's say like pink represented hats. And then within that, we assigned each number to a different hat. And then when we would roll a set of dice, then we would know exactly how that particular creature would turn out, and just made it that way. And it was interesting.
I think there's something so awesomely human about that process that would excite anyone kind of getting into it, mainly probably even on that fact alone. There's like there's a lot of time that you've put into it, which is awesome, and I love how authentic this has come from. So can you talk about what the direction is in terms of where the art's gonna kind of go? What's ahead for you as the artist? What's next?
I definitely want to just keep going. I love this opportunity. I feel incredibly blessed to have this opportunity to be creating art and to be showing the art. So I want to keep going and just like delving further into the world and the history and the everything behind it. And the whole reason why I did this is because during the pandemic, everything was so like doom and gloom, and I just wanted something that wasn't so like deep and intense kind of art, like more something that would make you laugh and giggle, and just like something that you could easily look at and just like enjoy. And we came up with that slogan like that we came up with is like, if we don't giggle, we don't mint, because it has to be something that brings us joy, because we want to bring joy moving forward, and we want to keep doing whatever we can do to create that, and we want to under promise and over deliver. So we want to basically at this point just focus on possibly making some merch. We have some collaborations that are already completed that are yet to be released at this point, and we want to keep going in that direction. And we have also plans for future airdrops.
I love it. I think it's a small collection. It comes from the heart, and it comes from a dedicated, like, I love the if we don't giggle, we don't mend. There's something so awesome about that. So awesome and wholesome. Hey, Wee Creatures, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
No worries. Please stick around because after we do get through each guest, guys, I do like to open up a couple of topics just that's relevant to all of us artists, and we can all kind of discuss things together, make friendships and stuff. That's what we're here to do. But we're going to move on to our next guest. This is another Fantom artist. His name is REPEATR. Fellow Australian, how are you, mate? How are you?
Yo, yeah, how's it going? How's it going? Going good, mate.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, REPEATR works in Photoshop and Illustrator mainly, sometimes dabbling back to his pencil and his paper.
And don't forget the spray paint
that's
too.
what I was about to say. Yes, he comes from years and years of being a professional street artist, so using aerosols and spray paints, painting trains, as we say. So he usually works in mural scale, so we're talking mainly super large scale mural paintings. So it's very, very different world, the digital world, restricted to a 12-inch iPad. But sci-fi, his genre and his style is like a sci-fi mixed with some kind of pop culture horror psychedelic themes. Heavily influenced by comics, which is me as well, my friend.
Yes.
Building the Ego Death story, and the Ego Death is his series that exists on the Fantom network. He plans to finish that in around 4 weeks or so, and then he's launching part 2. So there's storytelling and there's art creating. REPEATR, what's going on, brother? Can you please tell us about this journey that you've been on as a aerosol artist that has led you to the space on the Fantom network releasing this Ego Death series?
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Firstly, awesome to chat. But yeah, it's been a long journey. It's been many late nights out on the train tracks as a 16, 17-year-old is where it all kind of started. Yeah, like got really into graffiti with a bunch of friends, and like proper graffiti, going around tagging. No real kind of sense of much creativity or anything like that. But yeah, it developed from there. Like we got really into it. There's a pretty strong scene in Melbourne where I'm from, and happened to get quite good at it, I suppose, over the next 10 or so years, to the point where I was able to start taking commission to do jobs for people. And before that, I was working, like I studied at university doing graphic design and a few other things, and worked at a few places doing graphics. Started out doing stuff for like advertising agencies and stuff, and very, very quickly discovered how like soul destroying all that type of work is for someone like me. A few pivotal moments there, and decided to get out of that. Got my first couple of commission jobs doing murals, probably around 2014. So I think I started painting in 2005, so a good 10 years of just kicking around doing graph on the streets and whatever. And then went from there. I pretty much, once I got that first commission, I haven't had time to scratch myself. It's been nonstop ever since about then. So that's kind of how it all started. And I guess the cool part about, for me anyway, like the cool part about all the graffiti and stuff that I did was that the character that you guys are seeing in Ego Death was born there in the graph world on the streets of Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm
So
putting an image in the chat now, which I was going to ask about. I feel like I've found some sort of similarities. I don't know based on the images you sent me whether you've got the right ones. But
so yeah.
the
So those guys with the goggles. Yeah, I kind of became like I'm not going to say famous, but I became known in a little circle of graph dudes for this little character. And if anyone is like familiar with graffiti, you kind of have a couple of style kind of trademarks, I guess, in the way that you paint, and it might come down to things like little characters or letter forms or your tag or whatever. And yeah, and so my guy sort of quickly became this little head with goggles, and the more I painted him, like the kind of weirder and more fucked up he became, and he sort of became like my little alter ego, um, kind of like representative of like the weird and kind of messed up side of myself, I guess. And so that's why you can see him like with like ooze bursting out of his head or crazy colors and missing teeth and what kind of stuff.
He's eyeless. He's eyeless,
Yeah.
which I find really interesting about the character. Like, if there's one similarity that's been taken across from the conception on the wall, on brick to canvas or whatever, is there's no eyes, there's no eyeballs in any of them, which I find
Yeah.
interesting.
I think it's that started off as like a stylistic thing. So there's I'll see if I can chuck it in the chat. There's this character in the graffiti world called a puck, and they're from an old comic or cartoon movie from a really like old and famous illustrator, and they're like these really stylized kind of duck-looking creatures, and some of them have these like space helmets on, and you can never really see their eyes through the visor of the helmet, and all you can see is like the really cool reflections and like patterns of the light and stuff. So I think I was going for that when I first kind of started doing it, and it kind of quickly became this little character's identity as well, like not really being able to see the eyes. I think it kind of like dehumanizes it a little bit, kind of brings it to more of a kind of made up place, a bit more of a fantasy style,
For sure.
like imaginative place, I think, for me anyway.
Yeah, it's just for me, it looks like such a development of such a strong character. Like, it's the one theme that's been carried through. Can you talk a little bit about you've obviously carried this character through on quite a journey. How has that developed the story along with it, and how much depth and how much time have you taken to kind of delve into the story of this character that you've got developing?
Well, I think Ego Death really has become the first time I've had like a platform to properly tell it. Before that, like, so my journey with this character in the graffiti world and stuff's been like pretty personal, pretty like something that is pretty deep for me, and like relates back to my two best mates, and I guess, like I said before, the alter ego that I've kind of got inside me. So I've kind of always had storylines and more going on with this character in my head than just a crazy looking dude. So I guess the story with Ego Death is a little bit of a mix between all of that and how I guess I've managed it, but also like the story of myself as an artist. Coming out of like a graffiti background, it's not always looked favorably upon when you do stuff like commission works, using spray paint and kind of like labeled as a graffiti artist, because like the true hardcore, like to the bone graffiti artist would never take money to graph. It's all about doing it illegally and causing vandalism and damage and stuff, right? So it's kind of like there's a split there. And then I took it kind of a step further when I, like I don't just work as a commission artist. Like I've set up a full-blown mural painting business. I paint stuff for massive brands and companies, restaurants, whatever. So it's become more than that and separated from street art and graffiti. But I've never really been able to shake that kind of that stigma in the graph world of like, selling out or whatever you want to call it. Because, I got mates that, I got one mate who's probably in his mid-40s now, who's been painting since he was 16 too. And he used to go out every single night and spend 7-8 hours in train yards getting chased by police and being on the run for years and all this kind of stuff, and like for nothing. He didn't get paid once, and he's like one of the best painters I've ever seen. And then here I come along and I start painting all this stuff for pretty good wage, and it kind of doesn't seem right on some front. So that kind of struggle within myself has kind of been where I've had to compartmentalize my identity as an artist. I'm an old. I don't do graffiti stuff anymore, but I used to graph. Then I was like a street artist, then a mural painter, and all along I've been a digital person as well, being a graphic designer. So I think the story of Ego Death is really about me and like my struggles within myself and how to come to peace with all that kind of stuff.
It's interesting. It almost from hearing that story, it almost seems like this character embodies the underground miner or the hider or the sneaky spy who's like kind of operating in a realm that separate from his origins that might not accept what he's doing or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I mean like this guy is.
There's a sinister nature to the artwork.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that comes back to what I was just about to say, is that I think this guy is like probably one of, if not the truest form of like my artist's identity. Where if you were to give me an open brief and say do whatever, then this is what the kind of stuff that comes out. Like I don't. A lot of the stuff that people really love of mine on the mural side of things is stuff that I would never paint if I wasn't being asked to do it and being paid and given a brief and all that kind of stuff. Not to say that I didn't like painting it or whatever, but it's just not my true style. So, and like I don't think I mean to come across like too sinister, but I think there's I think this side of people exists in a lot of people, and I don't think it's kind of something to be like scared of. I think like embracing a little bit of like weirdness and chaos and darkness is good.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, so I really dig that.
I'm really interested quickly to just talk about so you mentioned obviously your background in graphic design, and obviously know that there's an element of you understanding your way to navigate like a piece of design, all that sort of stuff. But even just with the style, like if we look at the works from Ego Death, there's a lot of lack of lines, and there's like it kind of almost still looks like an aerosol piece in a lot of places. Can you talk about how your whole journey when you come to start this style that you talk about is very authentic, and it comes from a place that's very you, which is awesome. But yeah, can you talk about the blend of aerosol styles with digital?
Yeah, I think that comes down to the fact that like I've been painting murals for so long now and using like almost predominantly spray paint for what is it, like 7 or 8 years or whatever. That I guess there's techniques that you learn using spray paint that are kind of unique to spray paint, and they're not they're not quite what you would learn if you did an illustration course or something like that. And so I think it's a blend of like techniques that I just now are kind of just embedded in me that I don't have to think about. So like, and I was saying this to someone the other day that I actually feel a little bit rusty in Photoshop because I've been on the spray paint for so long. So like still getting used to some of the things that you can do in there. And you know, some of it makes stuff a lot easier. Some of it kind of is counterintuitive for me. But yeah, like the spray paint stuff, I guess you're really forced to learn about form and like shape and lighting. And you know, everything is hand painted on the wall in front of you. You know, you're not relying on like blend modes in Photoshop or being able to you know, hue shift if you don't like the color of something. You know, you actually have to have all that in your head, in your hands as you're painting on the wall. So I think I'm bringing that style across a little bit, which is like for me, it's like this stuff that I've been painting for Ego Death has been some of the most fun I've ever had, drawing or painting, or whatever you want to call it. I think because of that as well, because of the techniques that I have with spray paint, they're coming across and they're actually working. They're looking cool. So yeah, I think a lot of that style is down to the fact that a lot of spray paint graph stuff is similar.
For sure. I think what you're doing is amazing, man. I love your style and I love your choice of colors. I just love the
Thank you, man.
The universe that you're creating is really it's really pleasing.
It's a lot of fun.
So you said you're going to finish this up in about 4 weeks or so. Then you're launching part 2, which is where the storytelling and everything else really ramps up. Is that what you told me?
Yeah. So well, I'm hoping to have this first part of the story done. Yeah, about 4 or 5 weeks. I think I'm going a little bit faster than I should be, so I might try to just calm down a little bit. I've had a few other things come up that I have to work on as well, so we'll see how that goes. But the second, I definitely can't reveal too much about what the second stage is going to be. But yeah, for me, the kind of the end of this storyline and the start of the stage, the next step is going to be like pretty cool if you're into the story and following it. And hopefully it brings a bit of like interactivity for people that are following the story, and a bit more of an opportunity to get involved, rather than just having kind of one piece going up at the auctions every weekend. But yeah, so, and I think I'm going to be trying to incorporate, trying to figure out a way to bring in some kind of spray painting, some physical stuff. I didn't really expect to have the kind of reception on my spray paint stuff that I've had. A lot of people in this space are really, really digging it. So I think I might have to figure out a way to involve people in that side of things somehow. But yeah, man, I've got pages and pages and pages of ideas. So like, I don't know what's going to work and what's not, but I'll be figuring out some stuff and hopefully, continuing all the story on from there.
Amazing, man. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that, dude. I really appreciate it. It's incredible.
Thanks for having me. It's awesome to chat about everything, and also awesome to hear about all the other artists too. Some cool stuff.
For sure. Thanks for being here, man. Means a lot.
Pleasure. Thank you, man.
Okay, so our final artist is Daturians. The crew is here with us. Kimblood. So this is interesting. We've had a couple of projects like this on the show, but this is a team. Okay, so the artwork is made in and by a team. Avax Summarize and Portal Heads was the other one. They get made by a team of artists. Anyway, this is Daturians. Daturians is based on the MATIC network. I'll post a couple of links in here in a second. Introducing Kimblood and Lunaria Semi. I'm assuming Lunaria is here with us, or maybe not. I don't think she is here today, but Kimblood will speak on her behalf. So Kimblood works in all the Adobe Suite programs, right? So he's actually the head of design in a corporate company. So he's got a professional background. He works in Illustrator and After Effects, whilst his counterpart prefers traditional art forms. She dabbles in software too, but it's mostly forms of physical medium art. So he works on a Surface Studio Pro. He gets to draw with his pencil. But Lunaria, she works with everything under the bloody sun. She's done it all, right? So through to lino cuts to acrylic paints. It's some of the more common or more recent forms that she's used. Together, they both enjoy their designs, which we can see as the Daturians. I'll post a couple in the chat for now, which is clean, detailed, and colourful. There has to be a good balance between all the parts, so a lot of design influence, I'd imagine. Clean and family-friendly is how it's been described by other people. But yeah, without further ado, this is Daturians. I'm going to give the floor to Kimblood. Kimblood, tell us a little about your this project, where it's come from, and this the journey that you've been on from the head of a design of a corporate company to the head of Daturians, this MATIC Polygon NFT project. Hello, Kimblood, are you good? Can you hear me, and can you chat?
Not good time to lose it, Kimblood.
Kimblood. Big nil.
I can get started if that helps.
Yeah, get started, man. Go for it, and we'll
Yeah, for sure. I feel bad because this is like so I'm head of marketing over with Daturians, and I get to do this all the time, and I was more excited to hear Boss talk. You know what I mean? Hang out. We're on way different time schedules. I'm in the Americas. He's in Lithuania, so we don't, as far as our paths crossing all that time in a marketing perspective, we miss sometimes. He's trying to connect. I can see him working back and forth. But yeah, I can definitely give our overview and everything like that. Obviously, it makes more sense coming from the boss, but more or less, it's a story of three best friends. That's where it kind of all starts, right? So Kimblood being, Kimblood, Lunaria Semi, and then we have Feo down there as well. They all met at their time at university. So while they were away at school, kind of became best friends through the era where tech was booming, where kind of like life was changing pretty fast. And overall, they kind of just started vibing on very similar themes, right? So the themes of spending time in nature, travel is what they did a lot of. And they really like kind of messing with the themes of like tech and space more so, right? So some were focusing on design. Feo down there was focusing on informatics, so coding and all those things. And so they kind of just became friends, stayed friends all the way through. And then actually in 2017, they heard about the original CryptoKitties, right? So they weren't calling them NFTs yet. They were just calling them, online files that people are buying with crypto, all that stuff. And so they kind of got exposed that way. At the time, actually, in Lithuania, you could not buy an NFT. So it was actually still outlawed. So they kind of let that sit on it. And they were still interested in the cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, all that stuff. Like that's kind of things that they were always interested in college. And they kind of continued down that path, right? Exploring all the themes together. And then about over the summer, the life had kind of taken them different ways. Kimblood and Lunaria got married, and started having their little Daturians, we call them. And so they started their life together. And again, when things started kicking up last year, they revisited NFTs and kind of the idea of it. And their main inspiration, and Kimblood just joined us again. I don't know if you can take over.
I hope you can hear me now.
Oh, yes, okay. Now you can.
I don't know what happened though. I have no clue.
Okay. You were hearing us perfectly. Yeah, exactly. So Kimblood, I essentially took them all the way through your college, life together, marriage, all that stuff, the original CryptoKitty story. And then, yeah, if you want to take it from like when you initially started thinking like NFTs might be the move in the herbarium and everything like that.
Oh, thank God you were there. Okay. Here to save the day, Big Nell. Always.
Once again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you, of course, for inviting us to speak in here today. And thank you for all the speakers. It was super interesting to hear about your stories and your project. So I'm pretty sure that Big Neil already described where we come from. I'm really sorry if my English breaks at some point because it's super late at this time in here. It's 12 p.m., 12 a.m. I don't know.
That's okay.
It's the midnight. So me and my wife together, we've kind of been creating. We had a lot of projects on our hands. We're together for 10 years already. This is not the first project that we're doing. So we had our fair share of quite a lot of startups. And while I'm more into corporate design, that's why I'm working actually in a corporate company. She's the one always taking care of all the concepts and how everything should look like. So she's more from traditional side of art. She's coming from that side. And so we always wanted to create something regarding the flora, the flowers. So we're actually very interested in herbs, specifically medicinal herbs, because we come from Lithuania in Europe, and there's a tradition. A lot of Lithuanians do that. They go out and they gather mushrooms, they gather medicinal herbs. That's what we do during the summer. We prepare for the winter. And so we wanted to do a collection, maybe some cards. We didn't know of the medium at that point. We wanted to create a herbarium where you could actually pick those herbs in and collect those in a book and then have maybe short descriptions of those herbs and then give it some cool illustrations. And then when the whole NFT space came in, we thought that, well, okay, why don't we just translate that idea into this cool Web3 space? Because, for example, me in general, my background was actually bioinformatics. So I'm not that far away from all the tech news. I'm still reading about stuff and I'm still in the loop. So I'm a designer by accident, actually. And so we started creating our Daturians as an NFT project. But it all started with the simple idea of creating a herbarium. So I don't know if I answered my answer correctly, but that's
Yeah,
the
You did
story.
great.
you did a great job. That was fucking amazing. I really want to know about the process and how this comes together. So you're working as a team. Do you both sit down and kind of obviously, like you mentioned, this is the traits and the attributes and the flora and the fauna and the tech aspects that we see in the attributes. I think are very clear that comes from what you described as like your background and your interests. But in terms of putting these together and actually building these Daturians and the attributes and stuff, how does that work artistically as a team?
It all started in September, and we just started sketching up some ideas. So actually, at first, it was only the plants. We started only drawing the plants, and then, of course, we asked some people, so our friends, mainly the inner circle, we asked them, what do you think about this? And they said, well, okay, I've seen some NFTs before, and I know for sure that all of other NFTs have some kind of personality behind them, some kind of character. And I just cannot relate to these plants. For me, they either look cool or not. And we said, okay, that's a very good feedback. So maybe we should work on a character. And that's when actually we started sketching out the character. So at first it was only the plant. That was our main idea. And only then we kind of discovered that, okay, we can build this world. We can actually create some kind of race. We can actually have some kind of universe behind all of this. So it's Lunaria Semi who actually made a lot of concepts. We have, I don't know, like hundreds of Illustrator files. We're very critical about our work. so I think that since we started making this in September, I think that we had our final version of at least how we want the Daturians to look like in the middle of October. So it took us like 1.5 months each day. We sketched out, of course, Lunari and Semi made, that was her main like task. She did the hard work, and she did all the concepts. I'm mainly a guy who's putting in outlines, the textures, the colors. So I'm really the corporate guy behind all of this, but the whole idea of how everything looks like, she's the one doing that. So she's actually drawing everything out on a paper. She even did some, like I said, lino cuts and acrylic paint of our Daturians, and then I'm just looking at what she's doing and putting it all into Adobe Illustrator, and that's how we. I think we're really a dream team because I'm able to just put everything that she does into a digital space, but when I'm not really able to actually make these full concepts like she does.
That's interesting. So I want to ask about the attributes and how many, like, how that process, because I mean, it seems like it's very extensive. There's quite a lot going on. And you explain the process of your partner, Lunaria, doing a lot of the work in terms of the sketching and the actual, like, structure of the drawing, I guess, and then you doing the digital part and bringing it to life. But yeah, can you talk about how this is broken up? What different sections you use, and like how many attributes people can expect to witness throughout this Daturians universe?
Yeah, so we ended up with 222 different attributes. That's of course not including the ones that are empty attributes. So we have drawn 222. And the number is actually, so we have 8 layers, right? So there's the flower layer, the ears, the body, and so on. And in these 8 layers, actually, we have different number of attributes. We didn't specifically sit down and said that, okay, we need a specific number for each of these layers. It all came naturally, actually. So we just set up this number that, okay, we're going to have the clothes layer, we're going to have the flowers layer. And then during the day, we sit down and just we listened to our thoughts and we drew what we wanted to draw that day. So if you see that there's more flower attributes, that just means that we wanted to draw more flowers. And if there's more clothes attributes, it just means that we wanted to draw more clothes attributes. So there was no specific logic behind that. We just sit down and we do what we like. Of course, there's a lot of Easter eggs, of course, in all of these attributes and all of the lore behind that. So mostly it all comes from what we experienced in our lives right now, or what we experienced in our lives before we started doing these Daturians. So you can see there's quite a lot of folklore, specifically like Lithuanian or European folklore bits in there, or some, for example, details from the movies or TV series that we've seen quite recently. But actually, the biggest inspiration behind everything was our little daughter, because she came to our lives just 1.5 years ago, and she was the biggest inspiration actually behind everything. But as I said, if we're talking about attributes, so because we had this number set of layers, and we drew what we wanted to draw that day. That's it. We took inspiration from everything that we saw around us.
Yeah, I love it. That's it's awesome, and it's just it's obviously you guys are just doing kind of what you want, and I respect that in every artist that does that in this space. Can you talk about quickly your choice of colors? How extensive is the color palette? Have you restricted yourself like fairly heavily, or have you allowed yourself to kind of do what you want? And can you also talk about the decision to use the dark navy line and the dark navy line work?
Yeah. So there was a lot of actually discussions about that navy line. So I'm glad you asked that question. So our color palette is actually very extensive. It's pretty big. I have like a full artboard of our of all the colors that we use on the Daturians, and that's also. So you have to understand that, for example, me and my work, I'm working in a corporate company, so of course I'm not allowed to experiment quite a lot. I have certain guide rules. I have the brand book that I cannot go out. Basically, I cannot be as creative as I want to be. So we let it all out on this project. So we didn't want to limit us with anything. There were no rules. There were no borders. So that's why we have a lot of colors. Of course, it was pretty hard, and I hope that we did a good job on balancing them out. Because when we have that a color palette that is that big, it's always there's always a risk that something falls out. But I think that we did a pretty good job on that. And the whole outline. So at first we didn't really want to do that navy blue outline on all of our attributes, but then it turned out for the best for us, simply because it was a little bit easier to generate the attributes on top of each other. So it made the perfect sense for us in at least some of the cases to stack them on top of each other with these outlines, because without them, sometimes people had some errors. So it was just a practical decision behind that.
Fully. I love that you're slowly moving. I mean, I don't want to speak too quickly, but I love that you're slowly maybe moving away from your professional job. And do you have plans of maybe quitting that 9 to 5 and going full time if Daturians really pick up?
Well, that's the plan, actually.
Cool.
Of course, it wasn't the plan when we started, because I hope that you can sense that we started as fun. We had no expectations whatsoever. We thought that's okay. Well, we're going to do this, and if it doesn't work, then we'll have a cool portfolio for the next job. And if it works out, then we'll go with it. So right now we're in a stage where we hope that we can turn this into something that we can live on, live with, live off. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure. I think I love them, man. I went and minted mine last night. I think you saw mine. The color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I want to drop it in the chat for everybody, just so they can see. But hey, thanks so much for all of that. That was awesome. It's great. It's so great.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
My absolute pleasure. So just to recap, everybody, we've heard from 4 different artists from 2 different blockchains, both Fantom and MATIC. We've heard from We Creatures on Fantom Network, Beluga Bay on MATIC, REPEATR on Fantom, and just then Daturians, who are minting live. I think they minted on the same date as the Mingos, but their mint is live. It's totally affordable, awesome, clean, incredible art. Go check it out, as well as all the other artists here today. I'm going to open up a question just for all the other artists still currently tuned in. This is kind of a next little end part to the show that we do, which is just kind of talking about a couple of different range of topics that are relevant to us all. This opportunity to kind of share our thoughts. The first kind of question and topic I want to talk about is mental health and getting the time that you need to stay sane, getting the time you need to see sunshine and get some vitamin D. Look after your body, look after your mind. What do you guys all do to stay on top of your human health?
Yeah, I can chat first if anyone's interested.
Go for it.
Well, I mean, it's funny because like my whole project is kind of about mental um, adventures and good and bad. But it's I think I mean everybody has their ways and what they need to do to kind of keep on top of things. But I think just dedicating a little bit of time every day to something you love doing that's enjoyable, not for any other purpose. And I know like a lot of people say, oh, you need to go and get fresh air and get outside and do exercise and whatever. All of those are very important, but I guess for a lot of people that stuff is a chore as well. But you like I'm a gamer and I love gaming, and over the past month with all this NFT stuff, I haven't done much of that at all. Juggling murals as well, but I make the effort to jump on once a week, twice a week with my little crew of friends. One of them's like a really good, close real life friend. But yeah, and just like game, and we just shoot the shit and talk and like a lot of nonsense, but it's like super fun and it's super relaxing, and it's yeah, just taking that time to enjoy and turn off. I've got a little 3-year-old psychopathic child, and my wife just works full time as well, and we do all that. We do we're go 100% of the time. So yeah, just really taking that time to do something for enjoyment's sake, whatever it is, for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. I think that's super important, because you can't. I mean, in my experience, being creative, it's very emotional. Even when energy is high, you put a lot of parts of yourself into work that's not just about what looks cool or not. Whether people see that or not, that's kind of irrelevant, I think. But yeah, it can be really taxing emotionally. So I think switching off and having fun is super duper important.
I agree with the switching off part completely.
Anything to add, Kim Blood, or you just that's it? You just agree spending time enjoying yourself with friends?
Maybe for me personally, it would be a balance between two things. Because first thing that really helps to sign off and to whenever you have a creative block, for example. So first thing that we do is we go out just on a walk in the nature. It's easy for us to do since we live near the forest. But of course, that doesn't help all the time, especially if you have a lot of energy. So the second thing that we do is try to find some sort of an event. Usually a gallery opening is always nice, or a music event. Anything that can inspire you, any place where you can find new people, see something new. So I think that a balance between these two always helps for the mental state and for creative work.
Yeah, I like that. Getting out and consuming art as well, of other forms and just entertainment and stuff. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, I would add to that, that yeah, like I fully agree with like consuming other creative stuff, whether it's out and about or in your home or whatever, like that. For me has been something I've had to rediscover recently, just because of all my the last couple of years being really intense mural painting years, and a lot of that work not being like fully open to my creative vision, you know. So kind of like just grinding the gears, but and I didn't spend a lot of time doing much else. You know, after work or whatever, it would be resting really and like maybe watching something on TV, but getting more, like influence creatively from other people, which by the way, in the NFT space is, you know, you're not short of. There's stuff everywhere going on all the time. So that's really good. But like reading books and listening to stuff that, you know, discovering new genres of music, that kind of stuff. I think that's a really good way to keep fresh mentally, creatively.
Yeah, can I echo that? Um, for sure, it's been one of the experiences that I've had through the NFT community. Until about like, you know, I consider myself to have a creative mind, but as far as art and design, it wasn't as that much for me. It was like a marketing perspective. I did like video editing and that kind of area, but like rediscovering art through projects like the one that we're working on right now, it's just like brought another side of me out. I feel like more invigorated when I wake up because I get to work on something I love. Exposing yourself in that way, and then on top of that, one thing I'm just like proud of our project doing is fostering the right kind of community and the right kind of people to support each other. When people are having down days, like I think it's super easy to say, "Oh, I'm good." Like I think that's everyone says that. "Oh yeah, I'm doing great, thanks." Like thanks for asking. It's like a courtesy, and I want people to get more okay with saying they're not okay is the really goal over there. Just making sure that's why things get bad, because you let things fester, you let things stick inside you, you let things like stick around that you can just breathe out, I say. And I think that's one thing that I'm really proud of our community being able to do. That's been something that I've seen currently. And yeah, I think all these things are a good way to do it. Resetting, taking time to yourself, all those things, taking care of your ones that care about you, man. And really resetting yourself is huge. So thanks.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everybody's answers. Lots of great ideas. Definitely one of the ways that I try to decompress is by spending time with my family, cooking, playing video games, playing board games with my family. I like bike riding a lot. Um, but honestly, this particular project has brought me so much joy when I work on it that I can just focus and it's become like almost like a meditation when I'm working on it. So it really has actually helped me to get out of funks and stuff to just like work on them and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think that's happened to me too. Um, I haven't been this enthusiastic about creating stuff for a long time. I was saying yesterday, I think, in just a stream on over at Teens on Acid's Discord. You know, not long ago, maybe a month or two ago, I was woken up every morning by my son, and not really awake until midday because I was just wrecked and whatever. But I've been beating him to the punch every morning, like for 4 or 5 weeks now. Getting up first, energized, awake all day, like, and loving it. Like, just feeling that inspiration through the community and you know, other people's work and what I'm able to contribute as well. I think, you know, that's been super energizing. But you know, I've suffered burnout before from getting really intensely involved in my pursuits, and I kind of have a you know, no in between. I'm 100% or I'm totally wrecked. So yeah, I think I'm becoming more mindful recently to try to balance it. And yeah, like although I love, you know, gaming and sticking in front of, you know, indoors in front of the computer, I do, you know, I play soccer, and I love sport and working out and walking outside and whatever. My wife tends to have to force me a bit to get outside, but yeah, I think as long as you're positive and energized, or even just positive, it's okay to be like wrecked, I reckon, and not really find the motivation for a day or two. As long as you're kind of making steady progress consistently over a long period. I think it's that's a good thing.
Honestly, I just think I need to sit on phone calls with Aussies more often and hear this voice, because this is just the terminology is what. No, I'm serious. Like some of the terms you guys are using, ragged and all those things. I was like, yeah, I could get into these things. So that's my mental health positive for the day.
Man, I think you should. Me and Freud could probably turn it real Aussie in here. Okay.
Yeah, we could take it.
Yeah, get real deep into it.
Yeah, I'm used to listening to Australian true crime, so I'm waiting for you to tell me about who did it and like why they did it and all this stuff. So
Did he use the bottle opener?
The shiv.
The shiv.
That's so good.
He shanked him cold blood.
Cold blood in the courtyard. Anyway. Yeah,
Guys, I wanted to actually. I have to leave. I'm sorry, guys. I appreciate the time and letting me butt into a couple different jokes. But thanks so much for the space, and obviously Kim Blood does an amazing job. So I just wanted to support him too. Thank you so much, guys. I'd love to hear about the projects.
Big Nil, thanks so much for hanging out, man. Thanks for being here, dude.
Thanks, guys. I'll be following along.
See you, Nil.
Always down. See you.
So yeah, I guess I want to top up with one more kind of topic, and it's I think I like to talk about purely because this show is all about getting perspective from the artist, not the collector. But for the collectors listening, for you artists, what's the best and most poignant or pungent form of support other than a sale, obviously? What's the most effective form of support you can get from a collector to the artist and the creator?
Yeah, man, honestly, it's the community, and it's it's the chats, and it's like the talk, and you know, like I've done a lot of work for you know, like schools and youth groups and stuff, and they're always the most rewarding because you get you get instant feedback from the people that you're helping or you're giving, you know, this experience to, and it's always fun, it's always amazing, and I think like that happens a lot here in these communities as well. I've had some, like, I've only been here for, you know, a month, if that, and I've had some unreal support, and from people that didn't owe me a thing, you know, never talked to in my life, and then they're doing things for me just because they love my work and they want to see the project develop and stuff. And it's like, man, I have a collector, the guy that bought my second piece. His name is Cappy, and he keeps telling me he feels bad about how cheap he got my second piece for because he loves it so much. And it's like I don't even care about what price I sold it to him for because of all the support he's shown me since. Like, you know, he's telling me that his daughter saw the artwork and is now inspired to do art, and like, you know, how unreal is that? Like, that's better than you know, the Fanties hitting the wallet or whatever.
Yeah,
so man, so I think that kind of support is kind of priceless. You can't really beat that.
Yeah, I find that my greatest form of support is when I'm because I love sharing what I'm doing, right, or sharing my screen, or you know, when someone drops in and hangs with me while I'm drawing and has the courage to kind of, you know, ask some questions, and I get in these little weird little awesome little interactions with someone while I'm drawing. I think that's kind of like my most, I don't know, I feel like someone's tapping into me in the zone, and it feels fucking really awesome that someone's there kind of supporting, I guess. We Creatures, what about you?
yeah, the community is a huge thing, obviously. But I just wanted to share about one time that really just like touched my heart, because one collector had taken a little drawing that I sent them, and their kid like redrew it and colored on it and sent us a picture of it. And that kind of thing just like boosts us up amazingly. Like seeing that, it's like really makes it feel like it's personal. And that was one thing that like really boosted us up.
Yeah, I think when kids are involved, it really hits you in the feels, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I've had that experience a little bit, doing workshops for, youth groups and primary schools and stuff, like spray paint stuff, and like week-long workshops where at the end of the week, a whole year level worth of grade 6 kids or whatever will give me like hand-drawn cards to say thank you, or one girl cooked me a birthday cake because it happened to be my birthday during the week that I was there.
Aw.
Like that stuff is just, you can't really beat that, and that's kind of what it's for, isn't it?
For sure. I completely agree. Nothing beats the smile on a kid's face. Shit fucks you up.
Yeah, fully, man.
Yeah.
And now that I've got a little one of my own,
Yeah, exactly.
that's even more special, that stuff. So yeah, it's
for
good.
sure. Kim Blood, what about you?
I was thinking about it, and I don't know whether I can think of anything else, but it's the whole concept, of course, of the community bringing it all together. Because, well, as all of you said, whenever you have an NFT project, of course. So I like to think of it that we, as a team, the creators, are the ones who are in the backseat. We are the ones who manufacture the car, for example, and the community is the one who drives it. So it's all, of course, it's all up for them. They have the value of your project, and I really related to your story, Repeater, because we had the same feeling. We had so much love coming our way from all these people who didn't own us. We didn't own them anything. We didn't meet them, of course, and they went all out and helped us so much. We had a chance to look at our project in a whole different way, and it's always very heartwarming when you see so much love from people who you don't know, and they come from the other side of the world. So I'm really actually happy that this whole NFT space brought people together from all around the globe. I love that NFT doesn't see race or age or nation or anything like that. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
second that.
my
That's really
answer.
cool as well.
Mm.
I agree.
Yeah, there's no. I've always pushed how much I enjoy the whole like Enigma thing. Obviously we live in a weird hybrid where you're encouraged to dox yourself, but also kind of, willingly live under this kind of enigma. And I think the enigma is really good because it allows people to speak for the work to speak for them, not the personality and the ego to speak for. And with that, I think that's got a lot to do with why people are able to connect across the globe so easily. It's about project and work, not ego. Guys, well done. Hooray. Thank you very much. We have reached the end of episode 12 of Final Export. Thank you so much for your time coming out here and sharing your stories and your journeys with everybody.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for
It
having
was a
us.
pleasure.
No worries. I'm just going to quickly recap just for everybody listening. We heard from 4 different artists today. 2 from the MATIC chain, 2 from the Fantom blockchain. We Creatures on Fantom. They're currently minting on Ethan Tezos. We heard from We Creatures and her beautiful, cutesy, original cute characters that make you smile and keep everybody happy. There's lots to come from that team, so make sure you pay attention. Beluga Bay. Beluga Bay is a wildly successful project on MATIC as well. sorry, MATIC. We heard about his history in toy making and his world building, and how that Beluga Bay was kind of a diverted path, and how we're all going to eventually see the return back to the physical Beluga Bay toys and all sort of shit. It's amazing. We heard from REPEATR, who's on the Fantom network. He works in Photoshop and Illustrator. He has a massive history in aerosol and street art. We heard about that journey and the character that he's been evolving through his Ego Death series, and of course Daturians on the MATIC chain. We heard from Kim Blood and his awesome story about his partnership and collaboration with Lunaria Semi, the dedicated team behind the project, and this incredibly beautifully clean artwork, and where that comes from the professional history and design, and is also the herbiculture and the horticulture and the flora and fauna. Guys, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks everyone for tuning in. To our YouTube listeners as well, we are now streaming live to YouTube. So just for everyone listening in the Discord, that was happening the whole time, and we'll be doing that each week. For you artists, we are now friends. This is the whole point of this. Make sure you reach out. Don't be a stranger. Let me know when you've got new things coming out, when you've got new collections or new artworks you want to share and talk about, because there's going to be a moment where we kind of get through new artists, and we want to go back through and re-catch up with some of the artists we've had on the show thus far. So don't be a stranger. And yeah, thanks so much for being here and part of the show today.
Thank you, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
If there's anything else you guys want to shill or you want to lay down before the show ends, any dates, relevant dates, or anything that any auctions or anything coming up, please do so now.
Tombhead's auction on Saturday for me. I'll be there with 2 pieces. Anyone wants to jump in, chuck a bid in.
There you go, guys. Tombhead's Auction House is an auction house hosted on the Fantom blockchain. You can find them at Tombhead's, I believe. And yeah, tune in on Saturday. REPEATR's going to have some artwork there available for you to snatch. We Creatures.
Sorry, man. I've already dropped 1 piece in my Discord. Second piece will be coming just before the auction.
How exciting. Thanks so much for that, dude. We Creatures, Kim
thank
Blood,
you guys.
Anything else?
Yeah, we're dropping our project on March 7th, the 777. So we hope to see you there. Also, best of luck to everyone. Thank you so much. It was great meeting all of you and hearing about all your projects.
7th of March, we'll absolutely be there. I'll stop by, get myself a couple of creatures and hang out. Is there a mint party going down kind of thing in the Discord?
Definitely. Awesome. That's the plan.
Amazing. Cool. We'll drop in. Kim Blood, yourself? Everyone just go over and get yourself a Daturian, I think.
Yeah, we're minting now.
Yeah, they look sick.
Yeah, they're minting.
I'm going to jump over.
All right, guys, no worries. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. This has been Final Export, episode 12, season 2. Tune in next week, same time every week, 9 p.m. UTC. All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a great day.
See you guys. You too, mate.
Thank you. You too.
See you.
My love must be a kind of blind love.